This week's content has been inspired from a book review I read, and it was about Celtic Shamans. And I thought they were talking about the druids, but no, they weren't. So I did some research and realised that shamanism was its own entity. Now, from what I've been reading, I get the impression that shamans were more likely to be like local characters, a skilled practitioner from a tribe, a local cunning person, naturally skilled in the knowledge. And contrary to that, I feel that the druids were more of a school, a person trained away from the populace for years with a group of wise men. They do seem to have come from the same path, but branched out in different separate directions. Now, I'm not saying this is fact, it's just my impression. Let me know what you think. But this is basically what I read from my research. Now, the way of the shaman is very ancient and I guess ever unfolding path of wisdom. And it may be up to 100,000 years old. And the word shaman might have its roots in the Siberian Tungus, an indigenous group of people who originated in Siberia. Some still do today. They were reindeer hunters and hunter-gatherers. And it seems to be used to identify the medicine man or woman, who was a blend of healer, priest, caretaker of the earth, and a wisdom keeper and counsellors. Shaman have been described or been called witch doctors, medicine men, magicians, dream walkers, even sorcerers. Have all been used to define the shaman, yet none seem to capture the complexity of the role. And they're thought to have the ability to walk between worlds, to retrieve medicine, wisdom and guidance, and working with plants, spirits and the ancestors. And they receive remedies to bring relief to the living. The Celtic Shamanism seems to be a spiritual practice that honours the traditions of ancient England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And it's based on the idea of living in harmony with nature and connecting with the spirit world, similar to Druidism. And it seems shamanic experiences were part of everyday life, the cycles of birth, death and rebirth again. They're all inherent part of our lives. This pattern is repeated throughout our lives as we are continuously being reborn into new experiences and dying of old habits, behaviour patterns and belief systems. There don't seem to be any historical peoples or tribes from the Iron Age who identified themselves as the Celts. It seems to be a term used in modern times to describe an array of tribes. And the Romans seem to have drawn a bit of a random line between Celtic peoples and Germanic peoples, which may have influenced our views ever since. And it seems much of what we know about Celtic culture comes from stories recorded in early medieval times by Christians. Now, this obviously isn't going to be an accurate description of a pagan belief system. And shamanism is really a generalisation used to describe the religions of more modern indigenous people. Now, we know the Celts had a lot of gods and put up statues to them, so the so-called shamanistic practices were comparable to other parts of the world. Could there be a bit of cultural appropriation here? Possibly from early invaders and settlers evolving into its own thing. It's a very ambiguous and complicated subject, but let's not overcomplicate it and have a go. I read one thing that explained the difference between Druidism and Shamanism. Now, druids worship the spirits through plants, animals, and the fundamental spirits of the wilds. Conversely, shamans worship the spirits through the four fundamental elements of the earth. That's earth, wind, fire and water. And you could add the spirit to that as well. So that's arguably 5 fundamental elements. But to me personally, from what I've been reading, druidism is a form of shamanism and probably evolved from earlier practices. Now, many people think that shamans use ecstatic techniques to enter a trance-like state of consciousness. Ecstatic techniques are methods used to achieve a state of ecstasy or a shift in consciousness, which can include dance, chanting, drumming, altered breathing, fasting. Also by using psychoactive plants. Shamans have the power to enter trances, combat evil spirits and disease. They communicate with ancestors, prevent famine and control the weather, so I've read. And it seems they travel outside the body to contact spirit guides and power animals. Now, power animals are spirit guides that take the form of animals and are said to offer protection, guidance and strength. Also known as spirit guides or totem animals. And they can appear in dreams, visions, meditations, shamanic journeys or even physical form. They could turn to these perceptive and trustworthy oracles for advice and counsel on any question or concerns. And apparently they were exceptional teachers. And it's said that there could be mammals, birds, reptiles, or even mythical creatures that can teach you their character traits to protect you from harm and aid you when learning about natural world of spirits. And for example, if your power animal is a bear, for instance, it won't be just one particular bear, but a spirit guide that's representative of the entire species of bears. And I imagine you'll develop greater empathy for all bears and extend and care respect to the animal kingdom as a whole. They were or are thought to work with nature and the elemental forces to effect changes in reality. So I guess nature and elemental forces refers to the physical world, the natural forces that govern it and the powerful energies that affect our lives, including plants, animals, oceans, mountains and stars. The whole lot. The natural forces that govern physical phenomena, such as the energies that cause rain, snow, fire and winds. The natural elements such as water, earth, fire, air and spirit. I guess it's phenomena that are powerful and sometimes beyond human control. A creative and controlling force in the universe. Bit deep, but yeah, that's what I think. Now, the Celtic Shamans are thought to have helped people reconnect with themselves, each other and gear by using altered states of consciousness to heal people and guide the deceased on. They were like spiritual leaders who served their communities or tribes by healing, guiding and connecting people to the spirit world and direct and move energy to restore harmony within the individual or the tribe. They used to cleanse excess negative energies which are said to confuse or pollute the soul, and they act as mediators in their cultures. Now, I also read that there's 4 laws of a shaman. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'll read it anyway. The person who comes into your life is the right person. What happens is the only thing that could have happened, and any time it starts is the right time. And when something ends, it ends. Yeah, I quite like that philosophy. Simple. Celtic Shamanism is one of the oldest known spiritual disciplines, and it shares common elements with American, Australia, Siberia, all their teachings, which must be more than a coincidence. The Celtic contribution to shaman has been overlooked until recently, and I found this very interesting. Up until last week, I didn't know nothing about Celtic shamanism. Hardly knew of its existence, but I've really enjoyed researching this, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. And if you got any comments or to add anything, you're welcome to comment below. And of course, you're welcome to like and share. It all helps the channel.